Welcome back, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, to the super, not funny show. And today we're going to be doing, a review. I guess this is Super Not Funny Show review, season review of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, the 6 episode series from Disney Plus, from Marvel, tying into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it's all about Sam and Bucky and super soldiers and fake ass Captain America and all that stuff. And so I'm joined today by my invincible cast, showmate, the video game and pop culture and comic book, all that stuff, expert, Ladi. Ladi, my friend, how you doing this evening?
Doing great.
And
Doing great.
yeah, man, this I know we've been talking about this, offline for some time since this all started. And I knew since I had been doing the reviews of the show, for, for the channel, but it's just been my opinion. But I figured, with everything that was going on surrounding this show and how big a deal it is, and kind of in the pop culture space right now, and the people that like superheroes, I knew I had to get your take on it, just kind of as a season review of the show.
Okay.
So
So,
yeah, let's definitely jump into this and see what we were thinking about. So
that there was like one thing my brother told me that I kind of like after watching the movie. I mean, not watching the movie, watching the
it
final
felt like a,
episode.
it felt like a long movie, didn't it? Though.
Yeah, like I think he was onto something when he said they could have just took the last 2 episodes and just made a movie. They could have just been like okay, these first 4 episodes, watch this. It's it sets up this movie.
Right.
I mean, the movie Falcon and Winter Soldier,
Right.
and that's kind of like the way everything set up because it wasn't like what's that show? WandaVision,
WandaVision.
where everything slowly built up and then it came all to a head at the end.
Mm-hmm.
This was more of like build up, build up, build up, massive explosion, drop massive nuclear bomb at the end. You know what I mean? It was like built up, slow down for like I want to say after like I won't say the action slowed down, but the overall plot like sort of slowed down because you kind of knew okay, it's not going to end here. There's nothing like you know what I mean? Like it wasn't like the plot was thickening. Like when we watch Invincible, the plot is thickening each and every episode.
Mm-hmm.
It stayed a certain way. Then, oh yeah, of course, he killed some. What's his name? Killed that's got that guy in front of the world, but it didn't have like it had an impact to it, but it didn't have like that big of an impact to where I was like, okay, this show is about to go crazy because you kind of knew what was going to happen. You knew when he took the super soldier serum, you could see his frustration and everything was building up that he was going to do something that was going to make him have to give up the shield. You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like I said, the plot never really thickened until towards the end.
Yeah, I'm gonna I guess I'll push back a little bit on that, only in the sense that the last 2 episodes, I don't think were as dramatically interesting to have an hour and a half movie. It and this is pretty much due to them trying to have it both ways. This is less a TV show than a TV miniseries, and
Yeah.
the way I see it, they almost literally follow the 3 act structure, like close, really really close. So
Mhm.
I noticed it while watching the show that the first episode is the first half of the first act, and so it's a lot of there's some like action, but then it slows down, so they establish what the hell's going on in the first act, and then the second. So and I was like, okay, this is cool, and then the second episode rolled around, and I was like, holy shit, it's going down. They got that fake ass Captain America, and there's all this stuff going on, all that stuff, and they're trying to figure out, where do we go to see about these things, super soldiers, all this stuff, a lot of stuff. So it happened like that. the odd number episodes were kind of the slow down, explain what's going on, exposition. And then the even numbered episodes were the let's pay off all of that shit we just talked about in the previous episode. And so if you want to make this into a movie, you'd have to cut a lot of stuff. And I think that's the kind of the point of the Disney Plus shows, is to give them a lot more breathing room to expand on the characters and what they're doing. I don't think you could make Falcon and the Winter Soldier into a movie in any reasonable amount of time that actually pays some respect to the characters the way this show did. It's just because they have a lot more breathing room.
Snyder, you can.
No, you know what? I mean, no disrespect to Zack Snyder. This sort of story is not it's not his forte. This is the sort of show that it sort of builds on the goodwill of the MCU in general to make sure that the audience has the patience to pay attention to what's happening. If this was if these were brand new characters, no way in hell anyone would stick around for it, because we don't know them. And the fact that we know them is the reason why we'll stick around and see what's going on, and why anything that matters to any of these characters matters at all to us. So I think that's actually, they took advantage of the goodwill that the MCU has garnered, and also that this is Disney Plus and it's new MCU stuff, and everyone kind of wants to know what's going on. And of course, everyone loves Captain America. So the fact that the mantle's being passed on, and there's these people who are kind of causing a problem. You don't think that they don't. That's a downside to this this show, is that the Flag Smashers, for as much of a threat as they are, do they feel like a huge threat? They feel like somebody that they need to send Captain America after, or could the army just deal with these guys? I just want, they're not bulletproof. What
it was is that this is where, like, that's why I said, like, the plot, in my opinion, never really thickened, because the villains were just basically a bunch of hoodlums with superpowers. It was kind of like, for example, like this, like, just by me saying that, I'm thinking of like Static Shock. Like, how Static Shock, is based in the hood, and all these, hoodlums get superpowers. And, they, like, these people got extraordinary powers, but at the same time, would you send Superman or the Justice League to take down? It's like, I won't say Superman. I'll say, would you send Batman to take down these hoodlums with superpowers? No, you'll send Static Shock to fight these people, because at the end of the day, they're not that dangerous. Where, like you said, if you just train a couple bullets on them, they can take down. The only thing that was dangerous about them is that they had this unstable chick leading them, and nobody had the cojones to stand up to her.
Well, it's
say no.
Well, I'm gonna say there's a little. I mean, it's a little more than that. Is it wasn't just that Carly Morgenthau was leading them. It was also more to the point that they had a popular movement, and popular movements, that helped them move around and have resources and all that. But I think that as far as this show is concerned, like the premise of this show, the premise was essentially, at the end of it, of Infinity War, Endgame, Sam gets the shield, and Steve is like, well, you're it. And he's like, doesn't feel like it. And he's like, well, you are. And then he skips off to wherever the hell old man, probably to the moon, as they say in the show. And then he's just like, nah, I don't think I need this thing. It doesn't feel right. And then he gives it up, and then he does the right thing. And of course, you can't expect the government to act right. Can we expect them to do the right thing? And then instead of keeping it retired, they hand it to the first blonde-haired, blue-eyed soldier they can find. Yeah. And you said that people were just like, man, I know people were just like, man, not my Captain America. Hell, I was like that. I was just like, who is this guy? They photoshopped the guy from Up and in his thing.
Yeah, he
that
does look like a young.
That was a good one.
He does look
and
like
it's and then they get their new Captain America, and in the meantime, the Flag Smashers are running around, sort of trying to destabilize, supposedly destabilize the world. What do they call it? The World Resettlement, the global whatever GRC, the Global Resettlement Commission or something like that, an international organization tasked with dealing with the fallout of the blip, which is this. And this is all in the backdrop is that 3 billion people, 3.5 billion people suddenly become 7 billion in one shot. And the thing that we were like, yay, Avengers did it, and Avengers Endgame has a real world consequence. And I thought that when I saw that, I don't know how you felt about it. When I saw the blip, I was like, okay, well, how are they gonna feed those people? Where are they gonna live? It's
my first thought on the blip were the people that disappeared that were on a plane. Are they just gonna appear in midair?
Well, Kevin Feige actually he sort of put to it that, and I think the writers and the director, the Russos, said this. Well, no, smart Hulk is smart, and he was just like, I wish everyone would come back and also be safe when they come back. So the gauntlet pretty much put everybody in a place that they weren't gonna die.
They could be safe. So it'd be crazy, imagine. But then there's the regular people, like when she Rambo, when she came back, she was inside of her doctor's office, and you imagine somebody that was taking a shower when they got flipped out, and they reappear in the shower while someone else is taking a shower.
Right.
Oh wait, what are you? Shower? No, it's my shower.
It's these are the fun. I hope one day they make a show where they're like, what the hell happened during the blip. But the real world implications, it makes sense that there's all these people need to be fed and clothed and housed, and they lost all their property. There's all this stuff to be, and at the same time, since there's so many people coming back, the world is basically, during the time when everyone was gone, borders relaxed, and countries kind of like softened their stance on immigration, and there was more of a we're in this together sort of feeling on the earth. That now that 3 billion people are back, now everyone's they're closing their borders, and all of the cooperation and goodwill that happened over the previous 5 years are suddenly it's suddenly going away, and we're going back to the way it was before. And imagine this. I was interested, and I was like, these guys actually agreed with Thanos. It's what they agreed with Thanos. What did you think you would ever hear someone say, Thanos, that's a great idea. I'm glad you did this.
I mean, honestly, I'm not saying what Thanos did was wrong, but honestly, you have to ask yourself, world leaders, because it's like, this is a serious problem that honestly, we in the real, this is not fiction. We in the real world, we're going to have to take a look at it, take a hard look at it ourselves. Like, a lot of people don't know, and, I tell people this all the time, they don't believe it, that the number one cause of pollution / air pollution in the world is not reactors. It's not cars. It's not automobiles. It's the meat industry. And people are like amazed. And I'm like, and it's by a massive margin. It's not like beating out reactors by just a few percentage. No, it's like 3 to 4 times. The most of the pollution that is happening on this planet is the meat industry. And the problem with the meat industry is that's the reason why it's such a problem, is that you have to destroy so much land to be able to make beef. And on top of that, only 30-something% of a cow is edible. And it costs so much money to raise a cow, and it causes so much destruction, to the point that we as the humans, we have to ask ourselves, is meat really worth it?
Absolutely.
If we're going to,
I love a Whataburger.
I know, it's like, it's honestly, it's a question, probably not in, our lifetime, but like, our children and our children's children, they're going to have to look each other in the mirror. Honestly, is meat worth it? Is meat worth destroying the world for? And it's the same way, because
Well, I would like to think that we'd figure out how to grow meat by then.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah, I agree with that. But I'm just saying like actual cow meat because when we first grow meat, it's not going to taste the same. It's going to take years before that thing tastes almost just like meat, you know. But it's like honestly, if something like this happened in today's day and age, and magically half of the world's population disappeared, do you really think the world governments will be like, "Oh my God, half the world's population disappeared"? They'll more be like, "Woof, we dodged the bullet."
well, I suspect we're gonna find out in in future shows and movies what exactly happened in the time. I like maybe Shang-Chi maybe is happening in between there. I suspect we'll find out in the future, but in the aftermath of this is this these people who are just like, no, we're not, we don't want to go back to that crap before where y'all everything was horrible, everything
Mhm.
sucked and there was all these borders and all this fighting and stuff like that. And so that's what the Flag Smashers are really kind of about. And into that we see Sam, Sam Wilson has to, he goes back to being the Falcon for as a contract worker for the government. He's got his wings on. He's running around, you know, doing his thing. And also, at the same time, Bucky, he returns. He's pardoned. He's not the Winter Soldier anymore, but he's in counseling, trying to see about his like little bucket list of people he has to make amends for. And that first episode really is about, oh, what the hell's going on with these two guys. And Sam Sam's come back from the blip, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm a black guy in America and I can't get a loan even though I'm literally fucking famous. I'm famous.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh, they ask stupid ass questions like, where's your last 5 years of income, as if there wasn't just a cosmic event where half the people on earth disappeared. And it was,
Hmm.
that's the first moment I realized. I was like, well, damn, this show is actually going to go there. I wasn't expecting that from Marvel, that they were actually going to go to that place with race, because especially because of how fucking sensitive
Yeah,
my
everything is.
people on both sides are. But like for real, like just even talking about race, there's a bunch of people in the nerd space in particular who seem to forget about what it's like to be marginalized, and
Yeah.
they don't want to hear about other people being marginalized, but they want to hear about, oh, well, I was a word nerd that was getting picked on. And
Oh,
it's funny and ironic that the group of people that found comfort in comic books can be such outright.
like non-caring. You said a really good point because it's not just with comic books; it's also with gaming, and it's like it's ridiculous because this is just a little bit off topic. One of my favorite video games is Doom, right?
Mhm.
And the creator of Doom, he was asked the question: is it possible to have a female Doomslayer? And he was like, yes. I mean, if Doom Guy has a child and it's a girl, because canonically in the show, before his daughter died, she he gave birth to a little girl. And like he said, if she survived, she will have all his powers. It basically be a Doomslayer. And he was saying, uh I could do like a what if video game of having a female Doomslayer. And the Doom community erupted, basically being misogynist and sexist about having a female Doomslayer. And it's just, I'm like, God dang, man, it's 2021. I mean, you guys are this just hung up of having strong female characters or characters of other races
Well,
and colors.
yeah, I mean, but what they mean is, see, this is the thing you're going to run into amongst nerd circles in general is you have people complaining about oh, you put all of this, you're forcing it down on us. Forced diversity, forced, you force these issues. It's not natural. It doesn't have any. All it is you have an agenda and you're forcing your agenda on us. That's the argument. Quite aside from the fact that there's been forced agendas and forced non-representation for fucking ever. Like
Yeah.
it's been like so when they go in the opposite direction, they make a point of like, all right, we're gonna for sure make sure there's not just white straight dudes on running the show. They're just like, well, that's just in their minds that's just the way it's supposed to be, and these creators are like, well, not really, or they say outright like, look, we're intentionally doing this because you guys need to see this. You guys need to see uh, stuff that you're not used to seeing, so that you can
Hmm.
understand y'all ain't the only ones in the world. Um,
Yeah.
and so there's you with these guys, they make up all these excuses about story and stuff. I mean, yeah, even with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, there's these. I mean, there's a not small contingent who are just like, I don't want to hear about race in this thing. This is escapism. I don't want any politics in here. And someone I was listening to on another podcast they made a good point, which is, what the fuck do you think Captain America is? Captain America is a political statement. It has always been a political statement.
Yeah.
He's
His name is
he lit
America.
yeah, his literally his first thing. I'm telling you, go look it up. His first comic book cover with Captain America was Steve Rogers punching Hitler in the face in before World War II. Mind you, this is before America was in World War II. That was a political statement, and a political statement was, if there was such a dude that represented all that's good about America, he would punch the shit out of Hitler. And in the before World War II, people were trying to keep America out of World War II. So
Mhm.
it's always been political. The problem is that they don't have isn't that it's political, it's that it's politics that they do not personally espouse. And that's the problem going across the nerd space, all the pop culture space, is people suddenly, all of a sudden they don't want any messages or issues in there. But you have these same stupid motherfuckers saying that also are like, yay, Star Trek, because they're always talking about these issues. And I'm like, you know what? You just be honest and be like, look, I prefer white straight people being in charge of everything, and showing that they're good and they're the best, and that if there are some minorities, they're in the background. Just say that. Stop making up all these bullshit ass excuses about story and forced diversity and all this, and talking about how you don't like shit being shoved down your throat. You're certainly fine with other crap being shoved down your throat. Um, yeah, I mean it's tiresome. Let me say it's very tiresome, and I applaud this whole show for not shying away from some real shit. Let's just
Yeah.
call it some real shit. The Isaiah Bradley stuff, real shit. And it's some of these stupid motherfuckers that are talking like this shit. They don't understand that the Isaiah Bradley thing was literally inspired by real stuff. And no,
Yeah.
you people that listening know there was no attempt to make a super soldier that we're aware of, but there was an attempt to use black men as guinea pigs essentially for syphilis to see what happens over the course of a life, in a clinical, enough setting, how over the course of a man's life, what does syphilis do to him? And that's real shit that happened that the government did, and it's not the
Yeah.
first thing. And
Yeah.
and so that they were like, hey, there's issues that people of color have to deal with that y'all ain't aware of. Like
Hmm.
there's a thing. Think about this. Sam is like, I don't think the shield is for me, and he gives it back to the U.S. government. And this senator has the nerve to shake his hand and say, you did the right thing. And not a week later, what does he do? What does he do? He turns around and hands it to the first sort of Steve, sort of Steve looking guy
Yeah.
that's a soldier, and they didn't say, hey, and I think, and I'm saying for real, think about this. Was John Walker blipped? Was he gone? Well, I know one damn thing. Did 3 tours of duty in Afghanistan, and he had Medal of Honor, all that other stuff. Cool, I get that. Sam literally fought to save the world multiple times.
Not just the world,
multiple,
freaking universe.
the universe. But like, he fought for the universe twice. He fought Thanos twice, but he fought for the world a couple times. He fought Hydra. He's not superpowered. He just has those fucking wings. And he's done this, and you're going to turn around and give it to some fucking rando that we don't know.
Yeah.
Because he looks like he might be, he might be Captain America. He's the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, Captain America. You give me a fucking break. Like, it's even talking about it now, I'm just like, I'm surprised Sam's a better man than me, because I'd have put them on blast hard. I'm like, I just literally brought half of you motherfuckers in this world. I helped keep y'all here. I was there. The Avengers brought me back, and I was out there kicking the shit out of aliens and stuff on y'all's behalf, and you gonna sit there and do this bullshit to me? You got me 100% fucked up. I didn't even want to be Captain America before, and now I got to be Captain America. Give me that shield right now. I'm gonna have to.
Yeah, it's crazy how they automatically say, "Oh, it's ours," and I'm like,
Is it though?
Is it really? No, it's not your shield. Like, oh, that's American property. No, it's not.
Yeah.
And that's why that woman said, the shield is really not their property.
Yeah,
I don't know why they all of a sudden say it's their property. And it's like you said, like, of all the people to give that shield to, I mean, it's like you said, Sam helped save the dang universe, man. And it just shows you how arrogant and just plain idiotic, governments can be when it comes to issues, that they're so blind that, it's almost like, I always tell people all the time that, racism, in my opinion, is a form of like a mental retardation, because you have such a strong view of something. It will literally make you make stupid decisions. You have such a strong view. Like, for example, a person who is working for a company and they're hiring, they will have somebody of color that is the best for this position, but they will hire somebody of their color that is a worse candidate, but they'll just hire them because they feel more comfortable with that person / they're racist. And it just be like, no, why are you making it? Who cares if they're not the same color as you? Who cares if they're not from the same background? Who cares they barely speak your language? If they can do the job better, just as good as you want, or better, hire them. And that's the same thing with Sam. If Sam can do the job just as good as what you want, or better, which is better because he helped save the dang universe, why don't you just go like, hey, man, hey, what are you doing? Yeah. This is your shield. What are you doing? No, don't you retire the shield. Take it.
I do wonder if the fact that he chose to give it up rather than say, I'm Captain America, I wonder if that had something to do with it also. But he in a way, he sort of gave them the clearance
ammunition
to go ahead. Yeah. Well, he kind of gave them the clearance to go ahead and do it, because he was just like, nah, y'all can have this thing back, thinking for some damn reason that they were just going to keep that shield back there. But he wasn't paying attention to the fact that in this time of kind of turmoil and change, that they wanted some kind of like, figurehead to kind of really be like, yay, Team America again. And they got their guy. They got the guy, John Walker, and it sort of speaks to like what they're going to talk about later, about sort of the way that the country treats its soldiers. And we saw that, or people that kind of sacrifice for the country or whatever. Sometimes they force people to sacrifice for the country. Sometimes they don't tell them that that's what they're doing when they're doing it. And sometimes when people go into it with their eyes wide open, they still kind of get fucked around, because it's all about, in a way, this shows a bit of a commentary on, what kind of country is America trying to be? It's not just about what kind of Captain America do we want. What kind of people, what kind of government do the people want to have? Are they going to be the ones that are, like I said, America, fuck yeah, and then any way to pursue that is the way to go? Or are they going to be the sort of that, will reward, Steve Rogers for, going and rescuing POWs, but will jail Isaiah Bradley for doing the same thing as a pretext to just experiment on him and steal 30 years of his life? Is it going to be the sort of place that gasses up a man like John Walker? And let's be clear, he's been gassed up. He's had he's been puffed up. He may have earned some of it even, but he's been gassed up. And then once he's inconvenient, to pull that shit out from under him and be like, we don't know you and we're disavowing you. I mean, there's a lot of that shit. I mean, if there's a villain beyond Carly and the Flag Smashers, and in a small way the Power Broker, there's a villain in this. It's kind of the American government, and in the sense that it's not treating its people well. It's not treating the people who have dedicated their lives to protecting it, and they're not treating it well.
No, not at all. And you're 100% right, because it's one of the things that, even like, honestly, in our today's society, we have a lot of homeless veterans, and we know what happened in Afghanistan. It's pretty much, it's not heresy or treachery to talk about it. They experimented on them and gave them drugs, and they expected them just to go back in society and live normal lives. I mean, you basically snatched somebody who was an addict out of his environment and just threw him back on the streets and expect him to just survive. And they don't care. They're just like, whatever. You fought for this country. Whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he became inconvenient. So we know, like, by the second episode, Sam, he's a contract worker. So he in the first episode, he's worried about losing, his family business back in Louisiana, and his sister's 5 years older, his nephews are 5 years older, and he's thinking like, oh, this is America, it'll be fine. And then it's not fine, but then he still has to go work, and he's got to go deal with these Flag Smashers, and Bucky sort of insinuates himself into it because of the super soldiers. And part of what we kind of see is that Sam and Bucky don't like each other. Surprise.
Yeah.
We got to see where they don't like each other. And I actually do find that surprising, considering how, I don't want to say how similar, considering how they're brothers in arms in a sense. They fought the good fight twice, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they fought on the same side. Not just that they're friends with Steve, but that they are kindred spirits in the sense that they were protectors also. And it's just they also just butt heads, and that was fun. I like that part of the show.
And kind of funny that they had that Bucky had a little bit of jungle fever. With,
well, I was gonna get to that when we got late. As we proceeded, yeah. I think the thing is that because Bucky's, he hasn't been in rotation for a long time. I mean, he tried to get in rotation. I mean, we even saw, I guess we'd say, the softer side of Bucky Barnes that we hadn't seen since Captain America: The First Avenger.
Yeah.
He's troubled. Dude's trouble. I mean, it's kind of messed up if somebody tells you, like, you've been brainwashed and murdering people for the better part of 70 years. Nobody wants to hear that. Now he's got to kind of fix that up because he sort of enabled Hydra over the course of his freezing and thawing. So I actually liked that aspect of the show, and that him trying, basically being in recovery and trying to right some wrongs, and he's struggling with the fact that he killed this guy's son, and he doesn't know how to tell him that. He's afraid. If you can believe it, one of the greatest warriors on earth, afraid of just telling an old man, a terrible secret. So, but that, like I said, that was the first in the first episode. The second episode, we get around to actually trying to track down these flag smashers, and discovering, like, oh, not just that they're super soldiers, but they're not doing the bad guy stuff you expect. This is what I say about, like, this show. They make the bad guys ambiguous as hell. Like, and like, I'm listening to, I see what they're doing. They're stealing medicine. Like, why would you steal medicine? They're not even trying to sell it. They're just trying to take it back to the relocation camp so that people have medicine. Like, you're thinking to yourself, I'm thinking, why are we fighting these guys?
Yeah, and honestly, I was thinking that the same thing too. I was just like, you could have turned a blind eye. And I have to remember what caused her to start going over the deep end, where she started, because I know she killed that place with a bunch of people. But what made her go, like, you know what, F this, we need to kill people?
Well, the idea is that the super soldier serum just enhances who you already are. So, you kind of, being a good person from the start helps. And it's not that she was necessarily a bad person, but the fact that she was willing to go and take the serum, steal it, and then use her superpowers to kind of do vigilante, I don't want to call it vigilante, but like Robin Hood-esque stuff, made it maybe easier for her to be like, if you're in my way, I'll kill you. Because she's got the power to. That was the idea there. That somehow, if, as Zemo says, you become a super soldier, just makes you worse. Makes you more of whatever the hell you were already.
And it was getting to the point where I was just like, you know what? I kind of agree with this chick, but then after a while, especially when she called Sam's sister and threatened the nephews, I was like, you know what? Nah. Somebody, like, I was just hoping that one of her friends or somebody just go like, you need to chill out. Like, we were in this to change the world and help people. Now you just killing and threatening people. We're basically just thugs at this point. Like, honestly, it just shocked me that no one, a part of her group, had the cojones to go up there and say, like, nah, you're going too far. You're going way too far.
Part of it is the they started losing members of, that the first guy got killed by, he got killed helping them get away from the power broker, broker's goons, and then it brings them closer together, and that the more that they're pursued, they get pursued by Sam and Bucky, and then of course John Walker and his token sidekick Lamar, which I'm being unfair to Lamar because I actually think Lamar is probably one of the better characters in the show, even though he wasn't there overly long, but I think he was an important part of the show. But they get pursued, and then they realize, oh, they're stepping up on us, so we that kind of emboldens all of them to kind of do more. But I think it just made Carly be like, I'll do whatever, I'll kill for peace, like Peacemaker from DC, the DC universe. And I want the thing is, I'm just like, okay, yeah, we gotta stop that. But ideologically speaking, you're not saying anything necessarily wrong, because the GRC really was kind of going to be the group that were essentially going to lead the world backwards rather than forwards. in the name of dealing with a huge humanitarian crisis. And so and the thing is that what I think Sam brings to the table as Captain America, is just that he was willing to sit and listen to what she had to say and just be like, hey, there's a better way than what you're doing, man. You know, your way leads to destruction. Even if you're right, they're gonna just label you a terrorist and write off everything you have to say. So you can do this and we know it's funny. I hate the fact that I just said that still makes me realize that that's kind of the problem with having an establishment mindset, is that, and I like Sam. I think he's going to be a great Captain America and everything. But this idea of the right way or the wrong way to do something, you know, the right way to do something is the way that gets results, right?
Yeah.
And even if people don't like the way you do, you know, it's awful funny when people who are ideologically opposed to you talk about how you should be doing the things that you're doing. That people do that in politics all the time. Tell the other side how they're supposed to be pursuing their goals, when the truth is that the way you pursue your goals is the way that works. You know, whatever way works. And so, oh, wait a minute, 1 second. Wait, can you say something? Okay, I was making sure the audio capture was weird. All right, yeah. So the right way is the way that gets you results, and she was getting results, and she had people on her side. It's a popular movement. She wasn't just, you know, she wasn't Superman. She had to eat and fly around and everything, and this shit isn't free. So she somehow managed to make it happen, and I'm sure somebody helped her get in touch with the Power Broker and get the super soldier serum. So the fact is that they were bad guys, but only just so. Only in the sense that they were upsetting the status quo and they were upsetting people in power. And also later on, because of the obstacles, they did start killing people. But I felt like that was a bit of a cheap cop-out to make her actually murderous rather than, you know, it's you know, making her out to be murderous rather than having to have the governments actually deal with her without the baggage of, you know, finally having, now they have a reason that, oh, we can go kill her now, you know.
And, you know, honestly, you know, you said mouthful, because honestly, I thought about that too, watching the movie. I mean, the show, like, it kind of was out of nowhere where all of a sudden, I want to kill people now. You know, like, I would have liked it that an accident happened. Like, you know how she accidentally killed
Lamar. Yeah.
Lamar? Yeah. But at that point, they already, like, the viewer doesn't care if it's an accident because you already killed people before. So how do we know you're just not lying, saying it was an accident when you really did want to kill him? You just don't want old dude to come after you and say, oh, yeah, it was an accident. I didn't mean to kill him. When really in the back of your mind, you're like, yeah, I punched the shit out of him hoping that he died.
Right. Yeah.
You know, but it's just, I kind of felt like it was, like you said, it was like a cop-out. Like, it was just, at this point, I think they were just like, hey, you know, we kind of need to get this show going on a little bit. Let's have her kill people. Because I'm still trying to remember what made her do that. Because I don't think anything really happened to make her all of a sudden want to kill people. Like, I thought it was kind of out of nowhere.
She just set that bomb and, like, we got to make them know we're serious. And I'm like, why wouldn't they know you're serious? You literally walked into a place, robbed the hell out of it, and walked out. I mean, it's hard. How much more serious can it be? They sent the Falcon. They sent Falcon and the Winter Soldier against you.
Captain America out you. How do they not know you're serious? Because you know, honestly, you really did make it. Because I was saying that early in the recording. I was like, I'm trying to remember why. Why did she blow the thing up? Because there was really nothing that made her desperate because she was winning.
Yeah, because reasons. Say that again?
I was saying at that point of the show, she was winning. It wasn't like towards the end when everything was falling apart. She was winning at that point. You know, she was avoiding. She was getting everything that she wanted, and she was avoiding everything. You know, it was really Falcon and Winter Soldier who got desperate to the point that they broke Zemo out of prison to get to figure stuff out with her. Like exactly. Honestly, why? Like I still don't understand why did she do it? Just like you said, because of reasons. They just needed something to go like, hey guys, we're gonna blow some stuff up. So watch this episode.
Yeah, they had a reason to be like, oh, now we really got to take her down. It felt a little bit like they were trying to avoid making the bad guys too sympathetic. You know, just because if they're too sympathetic, you're like, well, why are the good guys fighting them? And it can't just be, oh, because they're Robin. No, people love Robin Hood. They don't like, they don't like bandits.
They need to talk to Kishimoto about making a good sympathetic villain. You know.
Well, I mean, I still think the Flag Smashers were quite sympathetic. I'm sympathetic to the things they were talking about, and Sam was too. At the end of the day, he wasn't just like, no, you're evil and nothing you say is good. And he's like, no, they kind of have a point. You guys need to pay attention to them. Just because you don't like what they have to say, the truth is they're not the only people that think this way. And they're.
Well, I meant it as like, I like their movement is sympathetic. I meant like, I should have meant it like to make a sympathetic villain that is extreme. Like, for example, Pain and Naruto. He's extreme because he went through one of the most extreme tragedies twice in his life. And all because of the freaking Leaf Village. I mean, hey, Naruto, you can't, like, I'm sorry, no, there's no argument that you could say, oh, we're the Leaf Village. We did nothing wrong with you. You killed my family twice. I can see why you want to blow us the hell up.
Right.
I mean, you can't argue it, It's the same way with Madara, Hey, the ninja world is constantly in war. And hey, I mean, he's not wrong. Even after Naruto saved the universe, basically saved the world and wants to bring peace, the ninjas that helped him want to bring peace are now saying, you know what? I'm this powerful village. Why should this little village that has this one resource that I want, why should I have to buy it from them? Why can't I just go and take it?
Right.
They want to go back to being a warlike. And the only reason why they cannot do it is because Naruto will pimp slap them back into order. That's the only reason why. The only reason why in Boruto the Naruto universe is still in peace is because Naruto will pimp slap everybody on the planet. That's the only reason. So is that really peace? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I think they, a few other things that they like. This show there's a lot of message going on. There's this and again, people don't like, they get triggered by words, but you know what? If you're triggered by this, go be triggered somewhere else, I guess.
Yeah.
The idea of privilege and who society gives it to, how it gives it to them, and how it's sometimes conditional. And I'm talking about John Walker in particular. And again, not taking anything away from him as a person, because he's quite a complex character actually. But he feels like he deserves. He feels like he doesn't deserve it, but he also feels like he does deserve it, and that's why he's able to sort of, make justifications for the things he's done as a part of it. He talks about how he sacrificed and all this other stuff, and he's just doing what they wanted him to do. But at the end of the day, he feels like he is a person that maybe doesn't approach being Captain America with quite the humility. It's something that someone's handed to him and said, you're good enough, go do it. And he's just like, sure. Rather than something that's kind of thrust on him. And he's like, I'm going to do it because it's the right thing to do. And, he's the all-American, guy. And he looks like, again, close to what Steve Rogers looks like. And he's in his mind, he's been told you're the best of the best, and of course, you're the best person, and he's been told that his whole life. This I wouldn't be surprised if he were football captain and top of the marks in the army, all this other stuff, and
Yeah.
he assumes that it's his by right, and
Yeah.
acts accordingly. And that, what's the fucked up thing about John Walker is he acts in a way that Steve would never act in the uniform.
Yeah.
He walks in and assumes wherever Captain America is, he has authority, which makes his whole confrontation with the Dora Milaje so funny, because he runs into people who say that shit and back it up.
Yeah.
One of my favorite bits was that whole, oh, hey, it's like, hey, let's talk about this hand on the shoulder, and I'm like, okay, you must want to get your ass whooped. 'Cause-
Well, Sam was like, "Hey man, you're better off fighting Bucky than fighting the full grown dog. Yo, they're gonna beat you."
I just remember I saw he was like, look, and he put this hand on. I was like, whoop, you must not want that hand, because as soon as that hand went down, it all went down, and he got fucking embarrassed. Yeah, and he takes the wrong lesson from it. This again,
Yeah.
John Walker. Actually, you know what? Let's talk about John Walker. Let's talk about this guy. What they wanted so hard. People hated on him so hard. From the moment they saw him, they hated on him so hard. And I'm gonna be honest. I was just like, no, I don't want to be Captain America. But I was never hating on him. I have to be honest. From the get-go, I was like, all right, I get it, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
You're right, because this is what I was just like, what you were just saying. I was just telling that to somebody, like a lot of like people, especially of color, because I saw on YouTube, Twitter, all that stuff, they were just hating him so much. And I'm like, they're making it like he's this like racist dude that is a terrible person. Like, yeah, he's a little cocky. He has a little bit of an anger issue, which the what is it? The super soldier serum made better. But at the end of the day, he's still a good person. He's still a person who wants to save people.
Exactly.
His closest friend is black. I mean,
and
when his friend,
you can't use the whole. We can't let him use the my best friend's black thing. That's not,
well, it's more. It's not just like his. Like, I understand what you mean by that, but at the same time, it wasn't like his best friend was black and he didn't care about his friend's friend being black. It was like he saw his friend sort of like his equal, because yeah, he didn't tell him he had the super soldier serum, but he sort of went to his friend for advice. Like, if you had the super soldier serum, would you take it? His friend was like, hell yeah. You know what I mean? He took what his friend said, and it meant a lot to him.
Well, I also sort of think that he used that as an excuse to kind of do the wrong thing too. But yeah,
because he should have. Yeah, I agree with you. It is like John Walker's not a bad person, because that is showed at the end of the season when he had her in his sights, but he said, you know what, let me do the right thing and save these people.
Exactly.
And he did it. It's the same way. Again, he had a chance to get revenge on, even though they weren't truly involved in Lamar's death. But if he was like a bad, selfish person, he would have taken that opportunity when he had them dead to rights. Hey, let's attack him and let me try to kill him. No, we're going to get you sent to jail.
Yeah,
and you
exactly. I think like every time you saw John Walker, like I really think he meant to do the best job possible. He was doing an impossible task, filling the shoes of somebody whose the shoes are huge, right? And he tried his best, but also in order to be Captain America, he had to be that cocky dude. He had to be the take charge guy. He had to act like he knew what he was doing and he was in charge and that what he was doing was right. And he, in other words, faking it till he could make it. And in so doing, kind of stepped on a bunch of landmines. And it didn't help that all of his bluster and bravado and all of the resources of the U.S. government got him no closer to the Flag Smashers than just sitting around and randomly picking some place on the globe and going there. And that it kind of galled him that he had to go talk with Bucky and Sam and be like, let's work together. But then he also wanted to presume that he could be in charge. So there was like a little, good, bad. But for the most part, he seemed to want to do the right thing. There's a tendency, there has been a tendency to sort of make John Walker maybe an anti-hero, or even maybe he'll work for a villain. That sort of thing. There was an assumption by people that that's the way he was going. But at no point, even, to be quite honest, his worst moment was something that you could sort of understand and also disqualified him to be Captain America. And that's,
it's when he, his best friend died. I mean, a lot of people, I felt like when they watched that scene, they just already had the hate into him, that they don't want to put themselves in their shoes. It's like, for example, if I see my best friend or my brother get killed, and I might not be able to get the person that killed them, but I can get the person that was there involved in it, I don't know what I will do. I'm not saying I will kill somebody, but I can understand his frustration in that moment, and he killed somebody.
Right.
And everybody just immediately just judged him. They're like, Captain America will never do that. Yes, I completely agree. Captain America will never do that. But like what's his name said, Zemo said, there's not going to be another Steve Rogers. I don't care what anybody. Steve Rogers was a good person. Steve Rogers is literally like, Steve Rogers is Naruto. He's literally Naruto from the show Naruto. Naruto, so many times Naruto had the opportunity to kill people, and there was nothing that we would have did and blamed him for it. But guess what? Naruto always took the high road. Same way with Steve Rogers. You know what I mean? He's a good person. So for us to just automatically just judge Walker for what he did.
I mean, I kind of have to. I'm just like, you're disqualified, sir.
Yeah, he's disqualified.
We're voting you off the island.
just ring him in as a bad person after that.
He literally murdered a dude. I mean, like, the only thing that, to be quite honest, I thought his ass should have gone to prison. But this qualified immunity bullshit that law enforcement seems to have, and he lucked out.
I thought he should go to prison, honestly.
He should have gone to prison. I would have liked to have seen him go to the Raft and then become a member of the Dark Avengers, which isn't to say he won't. But
just whatever
with Valentina, the Contessa, or whatever. You know what I'm talking about. Which, like I said, not to say he won't, but they gave him more of a redemption arc because he goes and he goes and welds together his little garbage pail lid that did nothing. It didn't bounce back. Surprise, no vibranium in it. That's how that shit works. But
what did he thought that fake ass iron shit was gonna do?
Exactly. Was the shit was made of like tin cans or something like that. But but no, his whole arc of I think he lied to Lamar's parents and his family about if the guy deserved to die. He's not a perfect person, but you know what? You're right. The thing that really kind of drew me back to him, even with his outburst in the tribunal or whatever you want to call it, where they strip him of his rank. And I thought they did him dirty, personally. I thought they did him dirty. This is why I said about just, he's their golden guy until he fucks up, and then now we throw him away with the trash. And this is that thing I'm saying. He got a taste. He got a taste of what Isaiah Bradley got. Just a taste. Just a little taste of it. And it wasn't even much of it. I mean, he dipped his tongue on it for a second and screwed his face up. But, in the meantime, Isaiah
honestly, oh, I didn't mean to cut you off, but it was just saying, like, honestly, Isaiah Bradley did nothing wrong. He did the right thing, and he was crucified for it. It's sort of like going to compare this to an anime. It's like with Kakashi's father, the White Fang. He did the right thing. Yes, he left his post, but he went to go save his friends. And instead of coming back to the Leaf Village to be known as a hero amongst the people, a good ninja, he was labeled a traitor. And this is where it goes back to, like you said, the government. The third Hokage could have said, no, he's a good person. No, he did the right thing. He saved his friends. Third Hokage sort of signed off by not saying anything. And as much as people want to remember the third Hokage as this great Hokage, third Hokage did terrible things at the same time. He, instead of trying to reason with the what's it called? The Uchiha, he inherited the second Hokage's racism for him and decided to murder all of them. Something that the second, no matter how racist second Hokage was, second Hokage will never want to murder all the Uchiha clan, ever. But the third Hokage did it, and same thing. He sort of, instead of recognizing the White Fang as this hero who saved his friends and people, no one died on that mission, even though the mission was not a success. He labeled him as a coward, and the White Fang was stripped of all of his honor and his ranking, and he committed suicide. That was all because of the third Hokage,
Right.
And that's sort of what happened with what's his name, Walker. They stripped him of everything.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think he got to kind of go off and think about it, and in his mind he got himself back up to go fight the Flag Smashers and revenge and all that other stuff. And as you mentioned before, and to me, when I was watching, I literally was saying out loud while watching, I was like, all right, John, what are you going to do now? There's two paths here. One of them leads you to Carly, and one of them leads you to this truck of people that are in trouble. What kind of man are you? And thankfully, because I didn't want to hate John Walker. That's the thing, because I didn't want to hate him. And he showed maybe he can be worthy. Maybe he could be worthy of that shield. Because when it came down to it, his own personal desire for revenge lost out to his desire to save the lives of those people. And that's a Steve Rogers move. That's a Steve Rogers move. He'll put, and no one's saying Steve is he's like a perfect person, but if you ever thought of anything Steve would do, that would be he would run towards the people that needed his help, and he'd let the bad guy go, because that's not as important as saving lives. So I was really happy to see that he got a redemption arc. He's as mad as he was when he was fighting. He's fighting to keep his shield, to keep the shield against Bucky and Sam. He was blinded by his anger and his shame and his just trying to justify himself, and redirected it at them, even though they were right. And I think now, upon reflection, he's probably thinking otherwise. And it was a team effort. That's the great thing, is a team effort to save those people's lives. That's John Walker coming back from the brink, where one really bad decision made out of anger and out of grief, almost ruined a good man, and now he can climb out of that. And that's probably the best. Aside from Sam, probably the best character arc in the show, in my opinion. Speaking of, let's talk about some other characters. Wait, I know we're running along here, but you know what? They're just gonna go until we get through all these this stuff. We'll save Sam for last, but let's talk about the smaller characters. What's up with Zemo? What is up with that crazy, dad dance moves guy?
Yes, Zemo.
Yes.
I like Zemo as a character.
He's apparently
man.
he's apparently rich. He's apparently like he's apparently the Bruce Wayne of a small European country.
It kind of, and where did that come from? I was the way they made it out to be, and he was like this regular dude that just got pissed off at the Avengers. But now it makes sense. Now I kind of think about it. It makes sense how this dude was able to basically mess up the whole Avengers. Because how can a regular dude who works a 9-to-5 do it? Now it makes sense that he's this basically billionaire. I'm like, oh, okay. Now it does make sense how he was able to mess them up. Because, it's like, honestly, if Zemo truly was a regular 9-to-5 guy and he could mess up the Avengers, I'm not locking him up if I'm the U.S. government. I'm giving that man a job.
Right.
I'm giving that man how did you do it? How the heck did you do it? And you just have a regular 9-to-5. Oh, okay, you're rich. Okay, it makes sense. Any rich person could destroy shit if they wanted to.
Right. Yeah. Thank the Lord there are rich people. They just want to destroy economies. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah. I think I'd rather him try to destroy superheroes.
Yeah.
But
honestly, kind of off topic though, just real quick. Honestly, ask yourself, if superheroes did live in this world, do you think some of these billionaires would want to mess them up?
Well, I think it depends. Because Zemo ideologically, he's just opposed. He's opposed to the idea of supremacists. He's not in favor of people thinking that they're better than other people or trying to enact that. So that's why he's against the superhero things. He can't put the genie back in the bottle, so to speak, for Steve Rogers or Bucky. Or, Captain Marvel or any of these other. He can't do that. But one thing he can do is make sure more aren't made. And that's kind of that. He's very single-minded in this. That his whole interest in this is that, there's someone got more super soldier serum out in the world. Let's make sure that shit goes away. And that was his entire thing, which I find very admirable. He's, it's weird that they sort of redeemed or rehabilitated his
character.
His character, because he had been in prison for who knows how long. Was he blipped or not? And then he's still just like, no, we got to get rid of super soldiers. You guys that already got it, okay, cool, but we got to get rid of this serum, and follows through and murders a guy. He's like Harley. He's not afraid to kill people in order to pursue his ends. And
let's talk about that ending.
Well, yeah, and I mean we see, at the end of it, he's got agents out in the world. How many agents? He's got his Alfred is just like just as murderous. He's like, the master commands. He blows those guys up, which was interesting to me because I was like, when the guy said one world, one people, I was like, oh shit, they ain't going to the raft. They about to get broken out, and they broke out all right in millions of pieces because he made sure to blow that motherfucker sky high. And Zemo's like, I did that. It's like, that's all me. So, but I mean, Zemo, to be honest, he and the next person I want to talk about have the simplest, motivations of the main characters. Sharon, Power Broker Carter. Sharon, everyone saw this coming from a mile away. Power Broker Carter.
You know, I'm really surprised that people didn't see this coming. I mean, how? First of all, she just randomly knows that they're there, and then two, she knows where everything is at. I'm like, this woman's the power broker. She can't hide from me.
Yeah, and the thing is that she's not a villain ever in the comics, so it is a bit of a swerve. But her being the power broker, she's apparently bitter, or was bitter, about the whole way everything went down. Maybe she's mad that Steve didn't call her after they had their little kiss, and then he went on the run, and she's like, "Bitch, you ain't got Gmail. You could have hit me up on. You could have hit me up or something." I mean,
that's her granddad.
Well, I mean, not in this universe. In this universe, they're not related at all.
How do you know that?
No, we know it because in this universe, Peggy Carter did not marry Steve Rogers ever.
Yeah, but exactly. But how do we know he didn't change his name?
No,
like we never saw.
No, Peggy Carter would have known that it was Steve, and it's not like he went in and got a complete facial reconstruction and then was like, "Oh,
I know that.
I'm Dave, Dave Rogers."
I know that. Like I'm not trying to. It's just the only thing that I'm saying is that how do we know that this universe of the Marvel universe is not also like, it's like, how it's like the same thing with the multiverse theory. There's so much stuff that how do we know that this is the universe that this is happening in? Like it could be there's an exact universe that the exact same thing happened in. You know what I mean? Because Steve showed back up all those years later, right there,
Right
in that place. So it's like one of those things that if he really went to another universe, he would have never showed back up at that place there. So it's just the multiverse theory is just hard. It's a headache to think about, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, she is kind of sour because the dude that she wanted to bang, his shield gets taken. So she's like, "Give me back his shield." It's like,
Well,
it's just
I tend to look at it more as having to survive in a non-extraditable country, and she has a certain set of skills that make her a nightmare for people like Zemo or other bad guys, and she just worked her way up to it. Why not? And she's mad now. She's like, "Oh, well, I'm gonna get mine. I'm getting mine right now." They hid that, but it was pretty clear. I didn't spend a lot of time speculating. I was like, it would make sense. She is pretty conveniently placed. She is in Madripoor. She is somehow keeping herself involved in some shit that don't have nothing to do with her. So, and Sam and Bucky are just like, "Yay, come on and join our merry little band." And it's just very convenient.
Surprised that Sam didn't question like that whole exchange between him. Like I understand he didn't know, but he didn't question anything. It's just like, "Oh, hey, that's kind of weird." You know what I mean? It's kind of convenient that he doesn't know. Like he doesn't question and doesn't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's. I think the thing is that they're so focused on something else that she's just like, "Oh, I'm about to get my my old job back, and also I'm going to continue to be a millionaire over here."
Do you think she's going to be the main villain in Captain America 4?
That's a good question. Is she good? Is she enough to be a villain in Captain America 4? That's a better question. Is she enough of a villain? I can't say. I'm not going to say yes.
A main villain. She can be like a side villain. Like,
yeah.
like something that shows up. I want to say like you know how in the beginning of the Captain America he beat up that French dude that shows back up in
Yeah,
this.
Bat Truck. Yeah,
Yeah, she. I won't say she will be somebody to take down beginning of the movie, but she'll be somebody to take down earlier in the movie. And it turns out she's just this small thing compared to what really is out there. You know what I mean?
right.
They
Yeah,
can do something like that.
I'm not sure, but I mean, like I said, this her motivation seemed pretty straightforward. She's not a good guy anymore. She's a
No,
mercenary, and now she's a double agent or whatever, well placed within the organization to exploit it, possibly. Possibly to be involved in. People are speculating maybe she'll be in Armor Wars. Is she a Skrull? Is she maybe a Skrull? Maybe that's why she's acting weird. That would make
aren't
sense.
Skrulls good though?
Well, some Skrulls are good. That the whole they announced some additions to the cast for the Secret Invasion. Secret Invasion, of course, is all about the Skrulls infiltrating the Earth, high positions of power. Different, in the
But,
comics, it's certain superheroes are Skrulls.
yeah,
So, so
but the thing is
if
that how would they do that in this show when Nick Fury's part of Shield and he has some scrolls on his side? Like how would like it's just how would they do that with the direction that they have that it can make sense because a scroll can pretty much tell another scroll from another one. Are they are they gonna all of a sudden say those scrolls are actually evil and they just never were good people?
well, I think again, this is the idea is that there's more than one group of scrolls operating in the universe, and that they don't have a home planet, so they've taken refuge on Earth. And again, it would explain why Sharon is acting somewhat differently than what we're expecting from her. But we don't know. We're not going to know. I think for a little while because Secret Invasion's not till next year anyway. But it would make sense. So I think she's going to be the villain. I don't really think so. I think she'll be a part of Captain America 4. I do not think that she's going to be the main villain though. Um, where are we at? Let me do a time check. Can you believe it's an hour and 20 minutes now since we've been recording? Oh gosh. What do we want to talk about? Gosh, at this rate, it's going to be like 2 hours worth of talking because we're at we haven't gotten to the big pop moments. Uh, we've sort of danced, jumping around on things. We haven't finished talking about the different characters. We talked about Zemo and John Walker and Sharon Carter, but we haven't talked about Carly or Bucky or Sam. Um, so I guess we soldier forward with this. Soldier. Okay. Well, let's see. Actually, did we talk about Carly much? We didn't. We didn't really say much. Did we say much about it? We just talked about her. Did we talk about her motivations?
Sort of.
Sort of. You know what? Let's just talk about her. We got three. All right. Um. So Carly Morgenthau, the leader of the Flag Smashers, the
Well,
Robin.
actually, we did talk about this.
Well, I mean, we talked about her a little. I guess, yeah. Let's just we'll skip past her. I think we covered a bunch of what she was on about.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we'll talk about Bucky then. All right, so what's Bucky up to? What's his whole deal in this show? Can I note in some ways he really does feel like a sidekick. Am I wrong about that? Does he feel like a sidekick in this show?
Yeah,
Just
he
just
does feel like a sidekick because I I'm not. I like the story what Bucky was having. It's just it wasn't what I was expecting. I was expecting a little bit more because he didn't feel like you know the Sasuke to the Naruto or the Vegeta to the Goku. He felt more like the Piccolo. You know what I mean?
Right.
That he was, yeah, I'll help you, Goku. Or I mean, I'll help you, Sam. But at the same time, he did it. It's like his story was compelling, but we already knew what he was going through. This just expanded on, and I don't know, I don't want to say unnecessarily, but it felt like there were certain parts of what was going on that I'm like, we kind of already know that he's going through some of this. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the thing that I wish they would have showed more was his training in Wakanda. They just showed like a little glimpse of it. Like, you know, that little part of when the woman said, "I'm disappointed of you, White Wolf," and they showed that he's free. It was just a little glimpse
Right.
of like that. In my opinion, I think they should have did more to show that than to show that, oh, I'm sad I killed people. We kind of already know you have going through that. We've seen it multiple times, and every time he shows up in a movie, that he struggles with that.
Right.
You don't have to constantly show us that he's going through that. We already know he's going through it. So you know,
Yeah.
I wish they didn't spend that much time on that.
Well, I mean, in a way, because they're trying to make him an equal part of this show, but also, um, his whole deal with trying to make things right that he did wrong, and they showed him, and it was humorous and everything, but he is important because Bucky's gonna think he's thinking outside of the box, so to speak. That's why they get Zemo. That's he's the one that can he can relate to Carly in a way that maybe Sam can't relate to her. Um, he's also the reason why the Wakandans have anything to do with the show, and we see he has a connect. He has a he spent time in the country. He's got a connection with one of the Doras, and I might I add, Bucky's got away with the black women apparently. Am I? Wait a minute. Let me call this. I'm trying to see this because I'll say this. The only reason why she seems to care about him and have some interest in his well being, and that's why she gave him 8 hours to even deal with Zemo, and then they're coming to get him. She had some respect for him and everything, but also in a way, I'm just like, I wonder if she wasn't a ceremonial wife of T'Challa, what would happen there. I noted that. And of course, the thirst that was evident between him and Sam's sister, that the super thirst. I thought it was an interesting thing to note that he seems to be for a man of his time, he seems to be quite quite liberal minded when it comes to that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I was said earlier. Yeah, he got some chocolate. He got some junk. He loves himself some chocolate women, and I felt like either one or two things was gonna happen. That he's gonna end up with a Wakanda woman, or he's gonna end up with Sam's sister. But more likely than not, he's gonna end up with a Wakanda woman. Who knows?
He keep on messing around. He gonna end up with a shield up his butt, messing around with Sam's sister like that.
I don't think he's gonna mess with Sam's sister. But all of a sudden, I won't be surprised if we have a Dora Milaje / Super Soldier mixed child running around in a couple of years.
I honestly think it's more likely he's gonna be Uncle Buck soon. he's gonna be brother-in-law Bucky. But we'll see. But I actually thought that. I thought that.
Oh, wait. You're talking about with
Sarah? Absolutely. Let me ask you. Do you really think Sam could tell her what to do?
Yeah.
The answer to that is absolutely not.
I was thinking that too. Like, he's probably going to end up settling down with her. I can see it because he Bucky to me is right now he's one of those heroes that he's okay with living the simple life unless he's needed. Like
Right.
he's okay working at a shipyard, but then when he needs to basically be the Winter Soldier, he'll do it. But he's not like Sam, who Sam's Captain America. Sam has to do a lot of stuff, be around the world, do all this stuff, and basically be a symbol.
Right.
Bucky doesn't have to be that, you know.
No,
You know.
he's just trying. The thing I like about him, is he's just very clear headed about where he's trying to go as a person. Part of the reason why he had such beef with Sam about the whole shield thing is, and you don't realize that Sam's actions, for better or whether or not you think it's justified, but Sam's actions actually play into his self-worth, whether or not he thinks he actually is a good person, because he's placed a lot of his self-worth on what other people, particularly like Steve Rogers, is telling him about himself. And Sam's just like, you can't be doing that, man. It's not the way that works. You're going to go crazy doing that. And so him trying to make amends for it, that's him pursuing a personal goal of being a better person and making up for the things he did wrong. But also, he's really hasn't yet, up until this series, been able to define who he actually is and what his values really are. And he's trying to find his way. And one of the great things is that, as much as it seems like he and Sam hate each other, to see that as the lie it really is. I love the fact that they were like, "Oh, I can't stand you," and I'm like, "You," I literally was just like, "Will you motherfuckers stop acting like y'all too damn macho to hug it out? Just hug that shit out. Y'all are friends.
Yeah.
Bring it in, man. He's there for you when you need him. You there for him when he needs you. And it ain't just about Steve. Y'all actually like each other. Y'all just too damn stubborn to sit there and admit it." It was just fun to see them go from I don't want to. We're gonna do this and then I'll never see you again, to being like, "Hey, come to the cookout, yo." Yeah, yes, it's okay. You ain't gonna be the only white guy at the cookout.
Yeah.
It was, and I'm not even gonna lie. I was getting into my feels were really touched by just how natural he was, down there on the bayou, hanging out with all of the people that Sam grew up with. The kids hanging off the arms, the nephews just really taking a liking to him. I mean, all of that. The Sam is just comfortable around him. It is something that he didn't have for so long, and now they're giving him this kind of extended family that it doesn't have to do with who has a super soldier serum or superpowers. It's just people, just people, and I think he earns it in this show. He earns the right to have that in this show.
Yeah, to me, that was the really good part about the ending with the whole saga with Bucky, that he finally found his peace. And I was like, you know what, this is a great way to like you said, to end this Winter Soldier saga, because basically his story, Sam's story, is basically starting, while his stories came to the end. The Winter Soldier has finally been put behind him. He finally, put back the book. He finally can, put his sins behind him, and he no longer has to hold on to. Because basically, Steve was his crutch to I'm a good person. Steve's now gone. He has to realize that he's a good person on his own. You know what I mean?
Right.
He has to come to grips that he has to forgive himself for what he did, because it wasn't him. He was programmed to do it, and he's no longer that person.
Right. Exactly. Yep. He's worthy. He is a hero, but also he's someone worthy of love and respect, and that He's kind of proven that he's the sort of person that can be there for people, that other people will be there for him.
Hmm.
And I really like that he even extended that to Carly, trying to talk her down. So, and even he had all the good reasons to see John Walker and be like, want to punch him in the face, and yet they work together. Work together to save lives. So it's all good. I mean, Bucky, he got good upward movement in his character. Which brings us to this, the man of the hour, the Black Falcon, as that as that little kid said, and all that old guy said. But no, that's Captain America. My Captain America. Hashtag my Captain America. Sorry, John Walker, you're hashtag not my Captain America.
Yeah.
What we knew was always going to happen in this show. It was a given. Everyone knew when this was all over, Sam was going to be wearing the stars and stripes and holding that damn shield. But he wasn't so sure about it from the start, and kind of to see him work his way around to it, and let's just say a very circuitous route, if you will, that took
He
him
was scared
to,
of the shield.
huh?
I believe he was scared of the shield. Like
Y-
he was. It's
Yeah,
sort of a thing of like, I don't want to say it sort of played into the show like sort of like a reverse racism to where, oh, already white people are saying that uh basically like the way they were saying that the US government and everybody saying that they want a white blonde hair blue eye Captain America. And like he said, every time I put up the shield, it feels wrong. Or it's the same way with the guy saying that black man doing all this stuff. No matter what, you're gonna be black. You're gonna be a black man. And he sort of took that in the way that,
Fans,
oh,
and welcome back to
maybe
another
I
video.
shouldn't have the
Today I
shield.
have
When,
10
hey, it's not about your skin color.
yeah,
Yeah, you're black. You should remember that. But at the same time, you were the one chosen to be Captain America. You should be proud of it. Yeah, who cares that there's going to be people out there that's going to hate you for having a shield? And that's some of the things that he had to come to grips with. That, yeah, you're black. Yeah, you're black. And there's going to be people that are going to hate you for putting on the shield. And it's going to make you feel uncomfortable because it's a heavy title to carry. It's like all of a sudden, if it's like with like Obama, when Obama was voted as the first black president of the United States, that's a lot to carry. That is a lot to carry. That the leader of a country that had one of the most atrocious ways of treating humankind and not too distant of the past. Like honestly, it was just in the 60s,
mm-hmm.
It's now that same color that was treated so terribly is now the leader. And that had to be a lot for Obama to carry. And it's the same way. Captain America was the symbol that all of America looked to, that, hey, this is a guy who's going to protect them. Now he is not the color of what majority of the people that live in this country are. And I felt like he was running away from that a little bit.
Yeah, and I think there's some of that. I mean, he grew up in Louisiana, obviously, um, and but in his lifetime, what's racism maybe is a little bit different. There's also the fact that he's his own man. Does he want to be Steve Rogers? The next guy after Steve Rogers. Um, is he's just not comfortable with the idea. Maybe in the back of his mind he knows, I'm not going to have universal acceptance like Steve did, which of course ignores the fact that Steve did not have universal acceptance. But a lot of people accepted him because he was the first one, and that's just the way it was. And so his lack of confidence in that arena, was maybe justified. Maybe he just thought like maybe it'd be best if nobody got it, because there wouldn't be this big political football about who should be Captain America. And then it's further complicated by the fact that Bucky takes him to go see Isaiah Bradley, and Isaiah Bradley is a super soldier that no one's ever heard of, because he was a GI in during the Korean, around the time of the Korean War, and was one of a few hundred, at least in the comic, a few hundred black GIs who were selected to be guinea pigs, unbeknownst to them, for a super soldier serum. There are different variants, and he's the only one that survives. And again, like Steve Rogers, he goes to save POWs and is court-martialed and sent to prison at Leavenworth for it, and is experimented on for 30 years, and then they let him go for some reason. And he is a forgotten footnote in American history. Another brown, person thrown on the bonfire to keep the light of America burning, given no regard, given no respect. And that's the sort of story that once he finds out about it, he has to ask himself again: can I still don this costume, where hold this shield and be called Captain America, knowing that there are millions of people who don't think I should even be in this country, much less be the symbol or the figurehead for America, that it's a disgrace. There's those people that, and he addresses it very beautifully, I think, in the final episode. But just seeing him get to that point, despite he talks to Isaiah Bradley like 3 times, and to see him go from I don't know, from I didn't know, to I don't know if maybe he's right, maybe no self-respecting black man should want to be Captain America, to now I'm my own man and I know what I want to do with this, and as he says, my superpowers, I believe we can be better. It's he's speechified like a motherfucker. Let's a very good speech there at the end, that maybe is a little not realistic, but I think in that moment, I don't want to say he channeled Steve Rogers. I'm not gonna say that. I'm gonna say that he channeled the spirit of what Captain America probably ought to be. He should be the guy who shows us the better persons we can be. The better he's not the Captain America shouldn't be the defender that we deserve. He should be the one that we aspire to have. And I think Sam's embracing of that, despite the fact that Isaiah Bradley is very bitter about, and rightfully so, about his lot in life and his treatment. And he grew up when there was real serious racism, and to still persevere through all of that. And for Sam not to tell him he's wrong, or to denigrate that, or to try to have this long conversation trying to persuade Isaiah to change his mind, but instead to respect that and say, that's not the way I see it, and I'm going to try to show you that this country can be better than it ever gave to you. It's good stuff. Sam is, I said he's my Captain America, and he's every bit in that last episode was, yes, that guy right there. Walmart Captain America never should have had that fucking shield, but maybe Sam shouldn't have had it until he could have grown up into it either.
Yeah, because he needed that, But real quick, did you see the Nintendo reference where they called him Captain Falcon.
Did someone call him Captain? I thought they
Yeah,
called.
he was
I
like,
thought they
"What should
called
we
him.
call you?"
I thought they called him Black Falcon. Oh yeah. So what
Yeah,
should
they
we
said,
call
"What
you,
should we
Captain
call him?"
Falcon?
Black.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, "What should we call you?" Black Falcon, Captain America. Then he said Captain Falcon. I was like, "Oh man, that's a Nintendo reference." They better hope Nintendo doesn't send them a cease and desist.
Yeah. No, that's he. I think I just like the fact that it's Sam. He never he never says like, oh, like there's some some people like, well, not acknowledging the situation with race in this country. He didn't not acknowledge it. He didn't, he didn't say like, oh, you're overblowing or anything, or, oh man, this place is so racist, there'll never be a black Captain America. He just said we can be better than that, man. We're going to be better than that, and
Yeah,
and now I get it. Now he gets it, and he's right. There are going to be some there. Right now on social media in the world, there are people just being like, you're just shoving this black Captain America. And yeah, you're right. They is being shoved down your throat. And, if you're the sort of person that's bothered by, you stick around. You're going to be bothered by a lot more Marvel shit because they are leaning into this whole, trying to present the world that we'd rather live in, one where everyone's has a chance and is seen and heard and isn't pushed to the side because they aren't so-called mainstream. And what the hell is mainstream anyway? What the fuck does that mean?
it's,
We're
it's
redefining all of that. And
it's frustrating, honestly. It's frustrating that in 2021, people are still, like you said, they're shoving it, you're forcing this upon us. Where it's like, come on, guys. It's like, you know, it's something that I have to deal with because I'm creating a video game where the main character is a female. And not only is she a woman, she's a black woman, which, in fiction in general, they still have not created a raw, truly like badass black woman. Don't get me wrong, the Wakandans, the Dora Milaje, they're badass, but it's not as raw and badass as I would like. For example, Kratos is this raw, badass character that gets dirty, blood smeared on him, and all that stuff. We've had female characters that have done that, but they're usually white or Asian. We have not seen a black woman in fiction that gets raw, dank, dirty badassery. You know what I mean? It's usually, if they're badass, they're usually badass in an elegant way. Like, for example, Storm, Dora Milaje. They're usually, when they beat you up, they stay clean. I want to, I kind of want to rip the band-aid off of this and create this raw character. She has tattoos. She's not, she's good looking, but she's not good looking in a way that will appease most men. She has scars on her face. She has scars on her body. She's been through terrible, dark things that happen in her life. And she's not afraid to get dark and dirty with what she has to do. And it's something that I'm just going like, golly, people, are we still in this box that it has to be, not only does it have to be a man, it has to be a guy with blonde hair, white eyes. And then on the other side, where it's in Asia, it has to be Asian, where it's like, come on, guys, let's try something different. Let's have a black Captain America. Yes, let's have a something, you know what I mean? Like something different. Let's shake it up a little bit. I understand that you, like, for example, I can understand that they don't want to turn Bruce Wayne black. I can understand that. But eventually Bruce Wayne is going to get old. Somebody's going to have to take his place. Who cares if it's a black man or a black woman, or if it's a white woman or an Asian woman, or vice versa? Who cares? The characters are going to get old and they need somebody to replace them.
mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like,
no. I mean, I see. The thing is that some people are gonna hear the word representation, and they're gonna hear a dirty word, because it just means to them like all of you know, the comic book characters that were created 60 years ago by primarily white dudes in a fairly conservative-minded United States. That's what the real stuff is to them, and all of this other stuff is just like pushing an agenda. Again, every artist ever pushes some kind of agenda. There's no neutrality in art. There's someone is saying something about something, and all of those things you grew up on, all these shows you grew up watching. Hell, actually, let me give you a non-Marvel example. The Justice League show that I know that you hold in high esteem, right? High esteem. Has as its lantern is Jon Stewart.
Yes.
Now, was this like, was Hal Jordan just not available? Was Kyle Rayner not available? Was what's the other guy's name? Whatever. There's three other white guys, and this guy. First of all in this entire sector, make note of the fact that in the entire sector that Earth is in, the lantern ring goes to Earth 4 times, and 3 of those times it gets a white dude. I'm just saying why. But
yeah,
okay. But it goes to Jon Stewart for the Justice League cartoon. Now, why would it go to him and not Hal Jordan, the first modern Green Lantern? And it's in part because Dwayne McDuffie was a black man who was one of the showrunners and creators and a writer and a great comic creator and writer and everything, was part of the decision-making process. Well, isn't it interesting that once you get a person of color or a woman into the room, all of a sudden what was formerly, stories written primarily by white, straight, Christian guys, suddenly we start seeing other characters, and they've tried, diversity, and they bring characters in. It's a little, sometimes a little ham-fisted, but all of a sudden we start seeing these things propagate through our media. Is it no surprise at all that the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, one of the characters is a black man, and the showrunners are black men, right? And some of the writers are, and this stuff starts propagating. Yes, it is getting shoved in your face. You know why? Because you have been shoving your face has been shoved into the hole in the ground this whole time, and the only thing you've been seeing is this one thing, this one perspective. Now you're getting more, and there's a lot of crying about it, but people with any kind of sense, people with any kind of like self-awareness realize that the pendulum was in one direction and now it's swinging another, and that's the way the world is going to go. We're not going back to the time when, and we're still in that time. We're not going to go back to where it's just assumed that the leader of the super team is, some white guy with some superpowers. Yeah. Or, we're not going to assume that. We're going to assume that there's going to be all sorts of people in a position to be heroes, and everyone can see themselves, and everyone, can see themselves as a villain or as a hero, and everywhere in between. It's a good thing.
And to be honest with you, a lot of these characters, like for example, Hal Jordan is nowhere near as interesting as Jon Stewart as a character. And I'm not saying this because I am black and I connect with Jon Stewart. I'm saying this as an objective character, like comic book reader, that yes, I find Jon Stewart's character way more interesting than Hal Jordan. Like, you got to understand, to make Hal Jordan interesting again, they had to turn him into a villain. And then they had to turn him into a god. I mean, that's extreme. If you honestly think about it. And like you said, the way the pendulum is swinging, to be honest with you, we're in a more interesting time because honestly, a lot of characters that I grew up watching in a lot of these old superhero shows, they weren't very interesting. They're making them more interesting now because they're experimenting with stuff. And it's not just with gender and race, it has to do with ideologies. Because like you said, like one of the things now, Omni-Man in 50 years ago was considered the red-blooded super American white superhero. But he's now a villain, you know. Back then, could you imagine how people will be able to handle that? They will be like, why is he like that? Because you have to think, a lot of the villains in comic books and in media a while ago, they had to literally change their like race to like Russian or German to make people hate them.
Right.
You know, because like honestly, like one of the few white characters in that are villains in old comic books, they either had to look grotesque or look like psychos. Like for example, the Joker. We don't know if the Joker's white or not, but I'm gonna just assume he's white. But look, they had to make him a clown. The Penguin, they had to make him look grotesque. Same thing. I can just go down the list of villains that we used to hate and all that stuff. They had to turn them into a like Russian or German or this for them to make them. Now they're turning what we considered at the time the red-blooded symbol of peace, the hero. No, he's not. He's a villain now. You know what I mean? He's a villain in this comic book. And the person that was considered, like, great example. I'm just going to assume Mark is Japanese. I'm just going to assume it. Back then, you know, we were in war with the Japanese. And a lot of the times, guess who were the villains in a lot of like cartoons and shows back then? Japanese people.
Yep.
And now Invincible, the person who is a hero in this comic book, is Japanase. America.
Is he Japanese? I want to say I actually want to say he's Korean. He's part Korean.
Either or. That's even okay. That's even worse. The way we view Koreans, you know what I mean? It's one of those things that the way the United States view Koreans, you know, they're flipping what we see as like they conditioned us back then to be heroes. They're flipping it on its head and saying, no, these are villains. You know what I mean? And it's more interesting now. It's more interesting to get into what it is because back then, a lot of times superhero stuff was corny. It was cheesy. That's why I didn't really care when I was growing up. The first time, like I said, the Superman and Batman animated series was great and all. Don't get me wrong. Great shows. It wasn't until the Justice League 2003 that I truly was interested in American superheroes because they started changing things up. They started swinging the pendulum. They started making Superman question being a Boy Scout. They started having, you know what I mean? They started Hot Girl betrayed the League. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You would never guess. A Justice League member, not only did she betray the League, she betrayed the world. You know what I mean? They made it interesting. They started adding more stuff to twist what we saw. You know what I mean?
Right.
And to me, honestly, we're in the way American comic books are more interesting now than they have ever been. Because honestly, I could tell you, like I said, I am an anime/manga enthusiast. I didn't care about American heroes until almost recently when they started changing things up. And now I like where they're going and I completely support what they're doing, honestly, in my opinion. I don't care what they do. If they want to make a gay superhero, okay, who cares? I mean, go ahead. If his character development, his story is good, I will be 100% down with it. I don't care. The same thing if they want to make a female superhero. They want to make this hero, this super good, you know, the main character of this comic book is a female superhero. I'll be 100% down. A lot of people don't know. My favorite video game character of all time is a female character. Samus from Metroid. From Metroid is my favorite video game character, and it's not even close.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah.
You know.
I know that. I know that since from back in the day.
Yeah.
Well, we've been at this almost 2 hours.
Yeah.
Let's get on through to the end. Um, so what's overall? Let's do some speculation. Well, I guess we sort of speculate. Like, where does this fit into this going forward? I just like real quick. Where do you think? I mean, we know there's going to be a Captain America 4. Where do you think Sam and Bucky fit into the MCU going forward from here?
So I feel like Bucky, he's sort of like his story's not is sort of done. I think Bucky's only going to show up in like he might show up in Captain America 4. Actually, I won't say might. There's a high likelihood he'll show up in Captain America 4. But I don't see him showing up in anything else really, like any type of main Marvel movie, unless it's an Avengers movie. That's the only way I'll see him showing up. And Sam, on the other hand, he's going to be part of the MCU, but I don't see him being like Steve Rogers, Captain America involved. You know what I mean? I feel like the MCU is about to follow Spider-Man's story. You know, it's going to like, for example, the MCU in the first phase, and I consider that the first phase, like all the phase leading up to Thanos, the story was sort of told through Captain America's perspective, with a little bit of the side stuff happening with with Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. But most of what was going on Earth, Captain America was involved some way or another. You know what I mean? Maybe here and there, not involved. And I'd say now I think they're going to tell it through Spider-Man's perspective. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
With Hey, go ahead. What are you going to say?
No. I was just agreeing with you.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be Spider-Man is going to take the forefront of what's going to go on in the MCU, because there's a lot of big things that are about to happen in the Spider-Man movies that I feel like may lead into a live-action Spider-Verse or something where Spider-Man has to basically be the man, because we all know at Far From Home, Captain America is not around. Right. Iron Man is, dead. He has to step up.
Yeah, that is actually an interesting observation, is because things are getting literally told out of sequence. Far From Home is 8 months after the blip. Falcon and Winter Soldier is like 6 months after the blip, and WandaVision is 3 weeks after the blip. So our timing is kind of odd here.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we Captain America 4 is coming. No idea where that's going, aside from probably they're going to deal with the power broker and that situation. But I think Bucky comes back for that, definitely. And of course, I get the impression, I'm not sure, we're probably not going to see him in Hawkeye. But I would not be surprised if we get a cameo by Sam and Bucky and Secret Invasion and maybe Armor Wars, because they are developing that Armor Wars for Don Cheadle to be the lead on. We also have this. I don't think they're going to be in anything this year, but the shows that are what is it? Miss Marvel and Hawkeye for later on this year, and I feel like I'm missing another one, but
Loki.
Yeah, Loki. They're not going to show up in those, but I think next year's shows there's a good chance that at least there will be a cameo in either of those two, and even like I said, Secret Invasion or Armor Wars, maybe even in the Ironheart series that's being develop that. We're not likely to see it for the next couple of years, but definitely, I think there's no reason not to think that they won't show up in Black Panther. Why not?
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they?
Oh yeah. They're definitely being Black Panther. Bucky definitely being Black
I
Panther.
don't know. Sarah might have something to say about that. He going over there messing with them Doras. I'm just saying she ain't having that. You know now Sam's sister don't play none of that stuff.
Yeah.
She don't play at all. But I suspect because Marvel has to kind of dial back from all of this world-ending shit. They've really, and they've done that. In WandaVision, they've told a story that wasn't about the end of the world. And in Falcon and Winter Soldier, they again told a story that wasn't about the end of the world. And so they've got to keep doing that. And as long as they keep on doing, they keep it in a way that's down to the level of street level heroes. I think that we can suspect that they'll show up for those things. But I do not think that they're going to have another season of Falcon and Winter Soldier in which Anthony Mackie is going to be Sam Wilson. I think he's movie bound now for the foreseeable future. One last thing before we move on, which is two last things. One, what's your final determination on the show? And give me your favorite moment of the show.
I'll give the show I'll give it an A. I was thinking giving it an A minus, but I'll give it an A. I won't give it an A plus, but I'll give it an A. I enjoyed watching the show. I don't think I will go back and rewatch it. I think it was like a good one shot for me. There were certain parts of the show that I felt like it drug for a little bit, but I enjoyed myself watching the show. My favorite part of the show, honestly, I really enjoyed episode 5. I enjoyed the non-action. That part, even though like I just said some of it drug, I didn't mean it like, okay, I want to see action and action alone. I felt like the little setup scenes, I felt like some of them didn't need to be there. That part in episode 5, besides the Walker, because everybody was like, oh, you just like the part with Walker. Actually, yeah, that was interesting. I liked what happened after, showing the stuff with Bucky, showing the stuff with Sam. That I enjoyed. That to me was my favorite part of the show. Right. Him realizing he has to be Captain America. Bucky coming to grips with who he is and being able to forgive himself. That to me was my favorite part of the show.
Right. Yeah, I like all those bits. And I think I'm gonna go with you. I think I'm not gonna give it a letter grade, so to speak. I'm just gonna say that there was some foot dragging, but for the most part, I think that it succeeded at what it was meant to do. I am going to watch this again at some point. I do think that it's strong. It's stronger towards the back end of the show, but also it's kind of none of this feels like unnecessary. Yeah. And I'm gonna cheat and say I'm gonna give a couple of my favorite things. I guess if I will give it a letter grade. I'll give it a B plus. And even though you give it an A, I'm giving it a B plus. The B plus is really about the kind of bit of the predictability of the storytelling. It kind of did some of the samey stuff. It surprised me, but there was a lot of things that did not surprise me about the show. And I really think that they could have tightened it up a little bit in some places. That said, my two favorite parts, I think I'm going to say for my favorite emotional moment, the part where I'm just like getting your feels, is that damn hug it out moment between Isaiah and Sam at the Captain America Memorial, where he is finally given his due.
Mm-hmm.
I held it in. Ooh, I was damn close. I was damn close to letting the dam loose on that one. I thought it was just like a well earned emotional point, and also a good closure of a bit of a storyline um, that I'm certain is going to come back into play with Isaiah's grandson.
Mm-hmm.
But my favorite like ass kicking cool ass moment had to be the Dora putting the hand like they try to put hands on the Dora, and they had to learn these boys. They don't learn today. You don't just roll up on no Dora Milaje. Never ever do that. Not if you like yourself. And just the way they just fucking humiliated John Walker. It was a thing of beauty. It was what was fun. It was yeah. They weren't even super sold. It was a thing of beauty because he just don't. You would think. Here's my thing is, if you're gonna be Captain America, you better know your enemies. You better know not even your enemy, know your allies, know people you're likely to face up against. But I'll tell you one damn thing. I bet you Steve Rogers never made that damn mistake.
No.
Never. I bet he never. Hey, I bet he never made that mistake. He couldn't beat T'Challa, and T'Challa, those are his bodyguards. Hell,
Yeah.
T'Challa even said he's not the best fighter in Wakanda. He isn't. You think he's not, and so just seeing Io and her, or the two other Dora put that hurt on on John Walker and let him know what it's really like. Was and then seeing them just kind of disable Bucky and this it was just all I was just like hell yeah.
Yeah, I was like, man, that's fucked up. I was like, yeah, they basically said, yeah, stay out of this. Yeah, you forgot we made you that arm. Get that shit out of here.
Yeah, it's I could watch that all day. I love the Dora Milaje. I'm biased, but I loved that entire bit. All right, so those are our thoughts on the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. This first, maybe last season of the show. Maybe we'll get more. We don't know. We're gonna find out in the future. But if you haven't watched the show, highly recommend you go do that. Get yourself up on this really great Marvel show. That had a lot to say, had a lot of action. It had everything that an MCU fan could want. And if you're just having a problem with all of the politics and messaging and whatever, just remember, it's a fake universe, and you can enjoy it. It's still escapism. Just chill out. Maybe you'll learn something. I don't know. Anyway, Ladi, thanks again for joining me on another one of these podcasts where we're talking about this superhero stuff. Really enjoyed our conversation, man. You have any last words before we get out of here?
Yeah. This is just to anybody. Just hope, I understand some people, you grew up a certain way, and there's just certain things you may not be too open to, and like you said, escapism. Just sometimes, watch stuff and just learn from it. I'm not, like some of the things that I do like to do sometimes, I like to watch things that I don't agree with. Like not too long ago, I watched a movie explaining the KKK. I don't agree with the KKK, and I'm pretty sure majority of the people who watch that thing are just people that have views that align with the KKK. I watched it to understand what they're thinking. Sometimes go into things with an open mind, and like you said, you might learn something. Just give it a chance.
Yeah, and also it's really awesome just to see a dude with a shield beating the hell out of bad guys. So I mean, you get that too. So, all right. Well, again, thanks again, Ladi, for joining me on this, and thanks all you for joining us on this podcast where we're talking about the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Are you subscribed to the Super Not Funny Show? Oh, if you're not, what the hell are you doing with your time? Get down there and hit the subscribe button. Join the Super Not Funny Show family. And while you're down there, hit the notification bell so you'll know when we drop more content. And we're doing that every week. We do reviews, reactions, anything else that floats our pop culture boat, like podcasts. And also, if you got any thoughts, any kind of comments you want to leave, get down there in the comment section, let us know. Or, of course, you can hit me up, supernotfunnyshow@gmail.com or at supernotfunnys1 on Twitter. We can chop it up about this or anything else related to pop culture. All right, all you Fabricans and Fleshbags, this has been Mo de Poupée, your resident Fabricant and commenter extraordinaire on all things pop culture, joined by my good friend Ladi. And we'll see you guys on the other side of the thread. Peace.
Yeah.